Saul Canelo Alvarez takes on Edgar Berlanga this Saturday, September 14th at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. This is the classic case of the wily veteran taking the young up-and-coming boxer to school. Canelo is 61, 2-2 with 39 knockouts at the age of 34, whereas Berlanga is 27 years old and he has a record of 22-0 with 17 KOs. Now, to make the disparity even clearer, Canelo has fought almost 500 rounds as a professional, whereas in comparison, Berlanga has 72 rounds in the pro ranks under his belt. Canelo has been a pro for 19 years, while Berlanga has been a pro for 8 years. Now, one thing they have in common is that they've both competed at the 168-pound weight division since 2020, with a little deviation there from Canelo when he moved up to fight Bivol and at light heavyweight. They also both won titles in 2021 when Canelo captured the WBO, WBC, and IBF belts. Berlanga captured the NABO belt, which is sort of the minor version of the WBO belt. Now, it's important to note that while Canelo has defended his belts 4 times and Edgar has defended his belt 3 times, the belt that Berlanga holds is fought for over 10 rounds as opposed to 12 rounds. And here's another key point of disparity between Canelo and Berlanga. Berlanga has fought a total of 1 12-round fight. Canelo has fought approximately 40 12-rounders. That's a huge disparity because one has to condition one's body to get used to those, as we call them, championship rounds. And at this point, it's pretty much second nature for Canelo because he's done it for so many years and so many times. Whereas this is pretty much uncharted territory for Edgar Berlanga. You can put as many rounds in, and you should, in the gym, in your sparring sessions, but there's nothing like the experience under the bright lights to really crystallize that 12-round duration for yourself mentally and physically. To put this in perspective chronologically, when Edgar Berlanga was making his pro debut, that was the same year that Canelo KO'd Amir Khan. Remember, that fight where he knocked out Amir was before Canelo's 2 fights with Triple G. So hopefully that kind of puts it in another perspective for you. Nevertheless, let's take a look at technically what Edgar Berlanga does well. Well, one factor I think in his favor is that he has good fluid footwork. He keeps himself on balance and he's able to navigate the ring fairly smoothly. Second asset that Berlanga has is that he varies his defensive guards. He uses both the double high guard and the sort of fist over fist at chest level. It's not quite a shell guard, but it's more of a relaxed guard. And to his credit, Berlanga coordinates his foot movement with his upper body movement. And that's critical to make his defensive bobs and weaves and slips effective. Berlanga is also athletic enough to pull off some sort of sophisticated defensive moves, like kind of fading back and pivoting. In terms of offense, I would say his best weapons are his left hook to the liver, followed by a overhand right to the head, and similarly a left hook to the head, followed by a right to the head. Now, he's got to be a little bit careful because one of his weaknesses is sometimes he overshoots his right hand. And when Berlanga does that, kind of loads up on a right and misses, sometimes he forgets to come back with a left hook to bring himself into position. And if he stays on that sort of overshot, out of position right hand, he's open to get nailed with a left hook himself. Another factor I hope to see from Berlanga in this fight is I hope he makes effective use of his feint movements frequently, particularly because Canelo has so much experience. He's pretty much seen everything that Berlanga could throw at him, literally, and so Berlanga is going to need to use feinting with his rhythm, with his tempo to just try to set up Canelo and catch him off guard and then a combination. Now the biggest question mark I have for Edgar Berlanga is how he will handle himself mentally and emotionally in the ring. Because I noticed this is an area of weakness for him. Take a look at his fight versus Alfredo Angulo. At a certain point, Berlanga gets a little bit frustrated. They get tangled up on the inside. Berlanga has double underhooks, and he literally goes to take a bite out of Angulo's neck. He also complains to the referee, and then at the end of this fight, for no reason, he still acts like he's super angry about, I don't know, whatever transpired in the ring. And the thing is, it's like, look, Berlanga, you're the A side. You're going to get the W. I mean, like, there's nothing much to be annoyed about. You know, just be happy, take your W, and go home with your paycheck. So if Canelo's able to suss this out in their fight and get Berlanga frustrated and angry, I mean, then he kind of owns him mentally. So Edgar's got to keep things under control for himself. Now finally, I've already pointed out the experience disparity, but also bear in mind that Edgar's been the main event on several boxing cards, but he's been the main event at the theater at Madison Square Garden, which is a wonderful, wonderful venue to go watch a boxing fight. If you're a fight fan, I highly recommend checking out that venue. But the capacity is about 5,600 people. It's great for a boxing fan because there's not a bad seat in the house. The way that seating is designed, the spacing of the seats is perfect. Even if you're sitting behind somebody who's very big, you can still see the ring. But now Berlanga is going to be stepping into the ring versus Alvarez in the T-Mobile Arena, which has a capacity of 20,000. So we expect that it'll be a very sort of pro-Mexican crowd. That's a huge difference in terms of the fight atmosphere for Berlanga. He's used to fighting in front of his home crowd, about 5,000 capacity. Now he's going to be fighting in front of a more hostile crowd towards him, and it'll be 4 times as many yelling voices. Now, rather than do a technical breakdown of Canelo, I thought I'd take a look at what I think Canelo learned from Floyd that he can in turn kind of school Edgar Berlanga in. Point number 1, I think that Canelo really learned from Floyd was ring generalmanship. Floyd was absolutely masterful in this aspect of the fight game when he took on Canelo. So take a look, even before the opening bell, Floyd was in charge because he didn't even wait for the actual bell. He kind of charged out of his corner, and by the opening bell, he had already taken command of the center of the ring. And that's may sound like a small point, but it's actually pretty critical. I can remember one of my boxing coaches, Johnny Wallowich, telling me just before the opening bell, he'd whisper in my ear, "Hey, you go out there and you stand on that maple leaf," because we were fighting in Canada, so on the ring canvas there was a maple leaf right in the center of the ring. He goes, "You go out there, you stand on that maple leaf, and you dare her to take it from you." When you trot right out and claim center of the ring, it is kind of like you claiming territory and staking your claim. It sends a message to the other fighter. So Floyd did that right off the bat. And then if you watch at the end of the round, this is also critical. Floyd always steers Canelo so that Floyd winds up in towards his corner at the end of the round. Again, that might seem like a small point, but if you wind up in your own corner at the end of the round, then you don't have to walk back to your corner. You're already there, but now you force your opponent to have to walk all the way across the ring to their corner. So it's a distance of the square root of 2 times, if it's a 20-foot ring, so square root of 2 times 20 feet. More that they have to walk than you have to walk. And that 60 seconds between rounds is really not quite 60 seconds because your cornerman has to get in the ring and then they have to get out of the ring. So in the end, every second is absolutely crucial. Now, those are just two very specific examples of how Floyd kind of schooled Canelo, and I don't know if Canelo will do exactly those tactics, but I do expect him to display greater ring generalmanship versus Berlanga, and be able to kind of put Berlanga where he wants him in the ring at any given moment. Another skill set or tactic that I think Canelo picked up from Floyd was how to be very loose in terms of his footwork. I think when he fought Floyd, Canelo tended to be a little more planted because he felt like he was going to be the guy with the power shots. So he wanted to really always sit down on his punches. Now, how Floyd dealt with that was he was a little more loose on his legs. So when Canelo would throw a hard shot, Floyd would kind of loosely bounce back, but then be able to, because he's so loose, he can bounce right back into position to return fire. And I've noticed that over the years, Canelo has adopted that same approach. If you can bounce back loosely on your feet, on the balls of your feet, so you're just out of range but not completely out of range, you just save a lot of energy because you allow the power of that punch to dissipate, but you can get right back in range to fire and land your own shots within one step. Another skill I think Canelo picked up from Floyd was the head roll. So off a power punch, if you just turn your head really quickly in anticipation of the punch, that completely deflects the power of the punch. To the untrained eye, it looks like you actually got hit, but to those who know, the punch, even though it looks like it landed, it's less effective. Finally, I think Canelo picked up a bit of that shell guard and shoulder roll from Floyd. Now, he doesn't do it in extreme shell guard as much as Floyd does, but it's a little bit of a shell guard, and he's adopted that shoulder roll a little bit. Now, some of you guys might remember that matador move, I call it, that Floyd pulled on Canelo, where he allowed Canelo to overshoot and pretty much throw a punch between the ropes, while Canelo then proceeded to mock him a little bit and kind of turn and look through the ropes as if to say, what the heck were you hitting? What's out there that you're hitting? Well, I saw Canelo do that same sort of matador move, not quite as dramatically, but he did that to Jaime Munguia in their fight. He just kind of did that ole and step aside and allow Munguia to step forward. So in a nutshell, what I think Canelo picked up from Floyd was just how to use real economy of movement to effectively diffuse your opponent's offense and still remain in complete command of the fight and be able to get off enough of your offense to secure a decision. So here's the question. I tend to think that Canelo might choose to just go the distance with Berlanga and, as we say, put on a show for the audience type thing by just doing exactly this, just using economy of effort and expending the minimal amount of energy to win every round or almost every round. Unless he senses a major weakness in Berlanga, or Berlanga kind of loses his mental cool, and then Alvarez is able to go for the stoppage. But let me know what your fight prediction is for Canelo versus Berlanga. I look forward to reading your comments below. Thank you.